Thank you so much for joining me for our top 10 Harry and Meghan moments from 2023. We are about to have a good old time. So go ahead and get your snacks, get your drinks, kick your feet up, and let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. I really appreciate you supporting the channel and joining us for tonight's live stream, or should I say live premiere. Thank you so much. If you haven't already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share. And let's get started for our top 10 moments of Harry and Meghan from 2023. Now, this list contains a lot. It's 10 moments from the year. So I had to start off on one of my favorite moments. I can't even believe it came in at number 10. When I first started creating this list, this was up there around number 1, 2, or 3. However, they had a lot of amazing moments this year. And so we are starting with one of my favorite moments and one of the funniest moments I have ever seen in an interview, the bald-headed debacle. While I could say that the entire press run to promote Spare is my number one, and it absolutely is, I wanted to be more specific. This moment right here is the moment I knew this man was about to be a menace. I feel like every second child, middle child, or younger sibling understood this smirk. This was one of those moments where you realize no matter where we grow up, what circumstances we grow up in, birth order absolutely indicates a large part of your personality. Not 100%, but all of us younger siblings related to this man's smirk, and I cracked up. This is one of my favorite moments from any interview ever. Let's take a look.
You write about a contentious meeting you had with him in 2021. You said, I looked at Willie, really looked at him, maybe for the first time since we were boys. His familiar scowl, which had always been his default in dealings with me, his alarming baldness, more advanced than my own, his famous resemblance to Mummy, which was fading with time, with age. It's pretty cutting.
I don't see it.
This is a lesson as old as time. Do not tick off the person who knows how to roast you. You are looking at the face of a menace. Now, here's the thing. Nobody can roast you like your sibling. Not your parents, not your spouse, not your friends. Your sibling knows those pressure points. And when this man said balding and that smirk swiped across his face, I said, oh, you be giving him hell behind the scenes. Don't think I don't know that smirk. This is still, to this day, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in an interview. Every time I watch that, I always imagine what William, and look, I'm going to give y'all a new angle. Here, let's give you a new angle of the head. But every time I see that interview, I think about what William must have said and what his reaction must have been when he heard Harry say that in his 60 Minutes interview. And I know he watched it because he's too egotistical not to see everything said about him in public. So I know he watched it, but I want to know what his reaction was, and not just his reaction, because you know he didn't watch it alone. What was the reaction of the people around him? Have you ever been around somebody who just got their tea spilled in front of you and you're like, oh God, do I act like I didn't hear it? Do I act like I didn't notice it? Do I look away? Do I comfort you? Do I get mad proactively? Like, what do you do? You know, Kate looked at him and was like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Maybe if we just brush over one of the little twigs, it'll be okay. It's not as noticeable when it's not as shiny. Maybe we'll get you some baby powder for that head. Like, you know, he was incandescent with rage, but you know, everybody in that room, when he walked out of there and undoubtedly stormed out of there, everybody had a good cackle. And I don't blame him. To this day, this scene is one of my favorite moments in any interview ever, because for a brief second, you see the baby brother pop out. We talk about him as a philanthropist, as a hardworking man, as a soldier, as a husband, as a dad, but oh no, don't ever get it twisted. He is forever a baby brother. And that smirk said everything I needed to know. And that is exactly why we're opening up this list with the mess. One of my favorite things about that 60 Minutes interview was that there was a lot to dissect, a lot of information, and a whole lot of truths shared. But I must say, my favorite part, in addition to everything else that was shared, was just that smirk. That moment right at the beginning let me know that we were in for a wild ride. I don't think I've ever seen a promo run quite like the promo run for Spare, because you're not promoting a project per se. You're finally sharing your truth. It's almost like a truth tour. And I would say that they were entitled to that, particularly Harry, because this has been going on his entire life. The media had been skewering him with his family's approval forever. Can you imagine for well over 30 years being lied on and talked about and set up for failure? And you finally are like, oh my God, I can speak for myself? You mean I can actually say what's going on and tell the truth? And that is what I loved most about this entire promo run. I'll be honest, the questions that were asked, Michael Strahan's questions, Stephen Colbert's questions, that entire promo run should have been on this list. And essentially it is via the number 10 spot. But that smirk set everything ablaze for me. I said, oh, he's not actually going to give PR answers. He's giving the truth and nothing but the truth. And we went on a wild ride, a very good one. To this day, Spare is one of my favorite projects to ever talk about, dissect, and definitely my favorite project that I've ever recapped on YouTube in general, on this channel or otherwise. But this promo run is definitely one of my favorite promo runs I've ever seen. In addition to that, this moment was just funny. It was just funny. The first time I saw that, I said, oh, he petty. And honestly, like I said in the segment, as a younger sibling, we can roast you better than anyone. If you have a younger sibling, you know what I'm talking about. Baby siblings know how to roast you for real because they've been studying you their entire life. You know what life is like as an older sibling without them. Younger siblings have never known life without you there. They've been studying you from day one and making notes. Okay, you're bald headed, scalawag, no hair in the back. Got it. So that is why this moment started off our list. We started off on a good note. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comment section. What did you think of this moment? I know you and I had a good time cutting up on this channel during that moment. And when we recapped it, that was a really funny day on this channel. But anyway, that was my number 10 moment of top 10 moments of Harry and Meghan from this year. I'm surprised to have something so recent on the list because it hasn't had that much time to stew in the brain. But because this moment was based on another project that I absolutely adored, it all just came together as a wonderful moment for 2023. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about by now. It's Meghan hosting the screening and the panel of The After. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, hosts the screening and the panel for The After. This was one of my top moments because, one, I really enjoyed watching the panel. I thought it was a really great discussion, and I really appreciated that they had not only Meghan and Misan Harriman, but they also had David Oyelowo, who starred in The After. I thought his performance was riveting, and I thought he was excellently directed by Misan, and I thought this was perfectly moderated by Meghan. It was such a great combination of the three of them, and it spawned really great conversation. I really enjoyed watching this. If you haven't seen my recap of not only The After, but also the panel, feel free to check that out. But here's a little bit of a peek of the panel.
Thank you guys for coming tonight. This is very special. And I think we should probably caveat that with Misan and I have been friends for a very long time. How long is it now?
Yeah.
Over a decade. And he's always had an incredible eye for art and quotes that can move people and anything that's really evocative. And that was before the world was in the state that it is. And I think it's compelling for me to be able to witness your journey and to make this choice as a first-time director. Let's just start with that. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for inspiring us. I will leave you on this. Our 4.5-year-old son. Misan was showing how to do photography the last time he was with us. And I bought Archie a camera. And he said, but it's not a Leica like Misan. You are not getting a Leica. Not even for Christmas, exactly.
I definitely thought this was a great moment for the year because, one, it showed Meghan's versatility. I love seeing her in this capacity and engaging with not only her friend, but about something that is artistic, and seeing her express not only her thoughts on The After, but also driving the conversation surrounding the film, especially as someone who didn't actually work on the film as a viewer. It really did drive a lot of really good conversation. It was very robust. There was a lot of substance to the conversation, and it was almost like a part 2 to the movie because the movie is only 18 minutes long. It's a short film, and it's currently on Netflix, so I recommend checking it out. but seeing the conversation that was driven, that was even longer than the film, seeing the conversation that was driven from her, someone who is extremely intellectual and very creative. It was a really good, robust conversation. Having the creator there, having the star there, and having someone who viewed it, but is also a friend of the creator and an intellectual and a creative person herself, I thought it was just a really robust conversation, and I really enjoyed this moment. Now, this isn't technically a project, but it was something that was done in 2023, and I thought it was a really great moment in 2023 for Meghan, and I really enjoyed it. This is probably one of my favorite things that I've seen her do in post-royal life. It was so interesting. There was just so much to dissect, and it was a really just a good watch. Also, being that I recapped the movie myself and I enjoyed the movie myself, seeing it in this capacity and hearing it dissected in the way that they did gave it new legs. It was like another part to it. It was like a part two. So I enjoyed that as a person who viewed the film and enjoyed it as well. So I highly recommend watching the after and watching the panel. But what did you think of this moment? Let me know. As I said in the segment, I really enjoyed the after. I can't sing its praises enough. And if you haven't seen it, go to Netflix and watch it right now. And then as soon as you're finished, watch my recap on this channel. Feel free to check it out. I really had a good time dissecting it. Now, here's the thing. I rarely dissect projects that are that short. It was an 18-minute long short film. I rarely dissect anything that length. I didn't think I would have a lot to say when I saw the runtime. I was wrong. So when I started watching it, I was taking notes and I was like, I got to put this pen down because I'm getting into it. I watched it all the way through twice before I took a note. I was just so pulled in the first 2 minutes. I had to watch it and not be distracted. Put the phone down, face down, on mute, and watch that movie twice. And then afterwards, I watched it a third time to take notes. That was such an experience. Now, I will say this. There are some jarring moments in the movie. So I will give you a trigger warning, but it is a really good film. It's so much to walk away with. And outside of the dramatic parts, it's the parts that encompass the stillness that actually give you the most to think about. And David Oyelowo is a phenomenal actor. And the way that he was able to portray his feelings with no words, excellent. Excellently done. He did an amazing job. I highly recommend watching the after if you haven't seen it. And if you haven't seen my recap, go check it out now. Shameless plug. But that's why this came in at the number 9 spot for my top 10 moments of Harry and Meghan of 2023. So y'all know I like to stay in theme with my background. It changes often, just depending on the topic that we're covering. We have a special guest with us to present the next number 8 moment. This number 8 moment was something that we talked about on this channel a lot. We have made the jokes. We have had the jokes fly. It has been a grand old time. And of course, if you see what's in my background, then you know what I'm about to say. Prince Harry doing the dash on the coronation with the hanger in hand. Let's get over to the number 8 spot.
Top speed on the dash. I put my foot on the gas.
Y'all remember that time Prince Harry did the dash on the coronation? Arguably a once-in-a-lifetime event, and Harry said, "You do realize it's my son's birthday," and it was my son's birthday long before this here little coronation, and he did the dash. He literally dipped out. Prince Harry said, "I wanna go home. I wanna go home." It served Charles right. To this day, I think he chose that date so that he could try and, one, bully the Sussexes into submission, because in his mind, he thought everyone would want to attend the coronation and everyone would drop everything. It's my one and only chance to get people to heel, and they didn't. And 2, I think he was being petty because he wants Harry to kiss the ring. And one of the things that I am so proud of Prince Harry for doing is doing things on his term, and he is not allowing on his terms, and he is not allowing them to bully him. He stands up for himself, he does what's right, and he walks with courage. Good for him. This was one of those moments, baby, he had the hanger in the jacket. Actually, he didn't, but that is one of my favorite jokes because it really does seem like he pulled that hanger out of nowhere. I was like, now wait a minute, did you have it tucked under your arm? But no, the footage from him leaving the coronation and being like hastily in a rush is one of my favorite things. He was not trying to give them the impression that he was woeful, that he was sorrowful, that he was sad. He had a party to get to. a real party, Prince Archie's party. And this is one of my favorite moments from the year. Do y'all remember this? What must you have thought when you saw him do the dash on the coronation? One of the things I thought was, I know that's right. But let me know what you thought in the comments.
I wanna go home.
Now, here's the thing, and I conveyed a lot of this in the segment, but how are you going to try to use your party, your coronation, this moment that you've literally been living your entire 70 plus years on this earth for, to shade someone else, and not just anyone else, but your own child? Where does it end with that man? I mean, Charles the Trash knows no end. Every time I have a moment where I'm like, he has so much potential. He could do so much. He could be better than what he is. Stop the antics. I remember that he's always been like this. He's always been like this. And he's always had people covering his butt, his flying monkeys, AKA his enablers. And we learned about this in Diana, Her True Story. We learned about this with Harry and Spare. We learned about this from people who knew him best, and not just anyone, but the people he was supposed to do right by first and foremost, his wife and his child. And he's failed on both fronts. There is no redeeming that man. And that's why I fully understand my compadres here, the hangers. Oh yeah, Harry was like, let's get out ASAP. Let's go. And I don't blame him. I've said this before and I'll say it again. London Heathrow is one of the most uncomfortable airports I've ever been in. And I blame Charles. Now, do I think that is Charles's fault? Logically, no. But because I'm petty, yes. And I want you to feel the same way too. We don't need logic. Let's just hate him for everything that goes wrong. Like I said before, I've gotten to where I just blame William for everything. I'm going to just put Charles in that number as well. My tires had gotten a little low. You know what, William? Try me one more time. It's William's fault in some way, shape, or form. And there was a long line of traffic at the red light and people were going slow. And if it wasn't for William, it wouldn't be like this. Sometimes you just have to pick your targets. I've decided they're the blame for everything. And I live in America. So I know if you live in the UK, you can do this too. But anyway, I fully understood Harry and these hangers. They were symbolic. He was ready to get out ASAP. And I fully supported him in that. That moment was hilarious. Not only did their antics not work, but he had a good time with Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank. He had a good time with Princess Anne. He was totally fine with his seating. He didn't want to be any closer to Charles than Charles wanted him to be. And they were fine with the seating. Harry knows where he is truly seated on a real throne, and that is fatherhood, that is humanitarian work, that is philanthropy, and that is being an excellent husband and global leader. He doesn't need a gold throne or the front row in a pew because he knows where he's truly seated at the altar of life, and that is doing good work and being a good person. And that's really all that matters. Y'all can see people at the back all you want. Their character is always going to shine through and be the number one person in the room, be the most important person in the room, be the most impactful person in the room. So you can put people where you want to, but that character is what defines them, not your seating placement. Anyway, not me going on a little tangent, but anyway, that whole event was a mess. I didn't even watch the coronation. I caught clips of it. And at one point, a lot of people had asked me, will you watch the coronation and recap it? I got it started and I said, where Harry? Just fast forwarded until I saw Harry and I was like, oh, okay, he walking in. Oh, well, you look nice. You look nice. Okay. Then I saw where he was seating. I was like, no, move your plume and I can't see Harry. And then after that, I was like, oh, he did the dash. And that's why this moment is number 8. You know what? The 2 funny moments we've had is Prince Harry. He is a jokester. He keeps us entertained. Now, this next moment is another recent moment, but one we have talked about at length. It is one of the most beautiful red carpet looks I have ever seen. And with me just simply saying that, you should know what I'm going to say is number 7. Meghan's appearance at the Variety Power of Women event.
Rough Riders. You know, Eve.
They want to know.
Of course, coming in at number 7 was Meghan's appearance at the Variety Power of Women event. It was a very fitting place for her to be. Everyone was excited to see her there. Everyone was trying to get an interview with her on the red carpet. There was just not enough of her to go around. This red carpet is truly one of my favorites. She looked so elegant. Her outfit was so beautiful. The entire look was beautiful. And of course, you know, I love a well placed bun. So that was the cherry on top for me, or should I say, the bun on top for me. Everybody was trying to interview her and talk to her, and she gave really great answers. She hinted at future projects. She talked about holiday plans. She had a really good time at this event. And then, even inside the event, people were practically queuing so that they could take a photo with her. The photos that came out after that event were so beautiful. She looked like she had a really great time, and it was great to see that she was honored there. I think one of the most excited people, and I would have been right there with her, was Garcelle Bouvet. I love the comments that she had about the Duchess. It seemed like this was a really great event, and it definitely stood for something that Meghan is very closely aligned with, which is supporting women. That is always her MO. And it was really great to see her out and about and having an amazing time. And did you peep the shoulders? Yeah, she had a really great time. What did you think of this red carpet appearance and this event? This one is coming in at number 7 of one of my favorite moments. You know, it's of 2023 since that's the theme of the video, but I would think this is one of my favorite moments of Meghan of all time. This was one of those moments where I was like, wow, like she is really in a new era. And it was really great to see her in that era. She looks so peaceful, happy, and at ease. And that's all we can really hope for. What did you think of this moment? It was number 7 for me, but let me know where you would place it on the list.
We're so happy to have you here because you are one of our Power of Women honorees. You are one of our alumni. We're so thrilled because this is a night that is about supporting women and the idea that it's important to do so, especially in the entertainment industry.
Oh gosh, I mean, this industry is just so special, and you see how many women use the platform that they have and just channel it for good. And I think as the more we support each other, it just amplifies the work, amplifies our community. I'm just thrilled to be back in it and to be able to sit in this room, be in such good company tonight, and also to focus so much on how it's the crossroads of entertainment meeting philanthropy. So really close to my heart. It's gonna be a fun night. Things that make people feel, I was going to say good, but it's more than that. Things that make people feel something, right? And feel a sense of community. But we have so many exciting things on this slate. I can't wait until we can announce them. But I'm just really proud of what we're creating. My husband is loving it too.
Now, this moment was covered everywhere. Like, I didn't even have to talk about it. I did, but I didn't even have to talk about it. As soon as I logged on to Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, everyone was talking about Meghan's appearance. Everyone was so excited to see her, and I fully understand why. But not only that, it is very rare that not only we get Meghan on a red carpet, but we get Meghan on a red carpet answering questions and being interviewed off the cuff. That was a really special moment for Variety. I know they were really grateful for her to show up and to give interviews. Now, there was one interview that I find so funny because it seems like the person interviewing her is super nervous. And I really like the way that she maintains a really calm energy. And over the course of that very short interview, you see the interviewer calm down and get a little bit more engaged. But she seemed so nervous, and Meghan was so kind and gentle with her that I do think she ended up becoming a lot more comfortable. But every interview on that carpet was fun. People were stopping her to make jokes with her. People were screaming her name. That was a really cool red carpet moment. But even inside the event, she was truly the main event. Everyone had something to say about her being there. People were practically queuing to see her, take pictures with her, talk to her. And the photos from inside the event, you could tell she was having a really good time. Above all else, just as she said, it's really important for her to be involved in something that is philanthropic, but also entertainment. And it was great to see her worlds collide, which is something she mentioned on the red carpet. So it was really great to see her. And I hope we get a lot more red carpet moments from Meghan in 2024. Meghan wasn't the only one who believes in uplifting. Literally, Prince Harry attended the Better Up Uplift 2023 Summit, and we got to watch virtually, and some of you got to watch in person. And I just want you to know, I'm really, really jealous. I am very jealous of you, and I want to go in person one day, and I'm so jealous you got to go, but I'm so glad you guys had a good time, and hopefully you'll see me there one day, not this next year, because I've been doing too much traveling, but hopefully another Uplift or another Better Up event, I will be in the building. Hopefully, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I do get to. But here's my number 6 moment of Harry and Meghan from 2023. I'm sure y'all expected to see Better Up on this list somewhere. Y'all know Better Up is an amazing service, but it's one of those things that I champion consistently. Yes, Prince Harry is the Chief Impact Officer of Better Up, which is how I got hip to Better Up. I hadn't heard of it before, but I am so glad that I did. As someone who has talked about my professional experience a number of times, especially being in an extremely high level leadership role, I can tell you there is a lot of work to be done in the workforce as it is today, particularly the American workforce, which is where I've worked. Here's the thing, no system is perfect, no area is perfect, nothing is perfect, no organization is perfect. And one of the things that I really appreciate about BetterUp is that it doesn't assume that you're striving for perfection. What they work towards is creating humanity in the workforce and making sure that the people that you are working with, working alongside, and managing are seen as people, that their human needs are still met on a mental level, on a personal level, and a professional level. And that is something that I feel is severely missing in the workforce today. One of the things that I love about BetterUp is that they have a lot of resources for professionals, but also for people. I also talked about how with Harry's influence, they are now working with service members who are in active duty. That is huge. It is really hard for people who are currently serving in an active duty to really seek help outside of their network, or especially if they're on a military base. They have a lot of really great resources on a military base, but sometimes things aren't military related, especially when it comes to mental health, but also coaching and developing on a personal side. And I love that BetterUp has started to commit to outreach and also providing a lot of resources for not only professionals and just people in general for growth, personal growth or professional growth, but also for people who are in active duty. That means they have to have an extremely high level of flexibility because you never know when you're going to get deployed. You never know where you're going to be. You never know when you're going to be on the field. You really have to be available to the military to use you as they need. And for BetterUp to be available to service members in active duty is a huge, huge step. And it's definitely going to result in a lot of progress for them. I love that they're creating more. I love that people are creating more resources for service members and veterans outside of just their duty, outside of just their service. Because at the end of the day, in the same way that I mentioned about professionals, they're still people with human needs. And back to the American workforce, BetterUp is one of those organizations that I think is truly going to change the workforce. And I say this every time they come up on one of our topics because they touch on the humanity of the people working in these organizations. For some reason, when you go to but most professional seminars or conferences, they really do preach professionalism and they have these values and key takeaways for professionals that are great and useful. And I've applied many of them. But one of the things that they lack, that I feel BetterUp Uplift events don't lack, is they don't remember you're human. And these seminars and these conferences for professionals tend to give you these takeaways, and they kind of have this mindset of plug it in and go. It's very robotic, and we're not robots. One of the things that I really appreciate about BetterUp is that it acknowledges that there's so much professional coaching, there's so much professional preparation. No matter where you are in your career, you can really find something resourceful from BetterUp, which is why I champion it all the time. They even have a lot of great apps and services and resources on their website. I highly recommend checking out their interviews, but they never lose the humanity of it. And that's why I think we are headed towards progress in a way that I didn't think I would be alive to see. Honestly, the way that professionalism is preached here in America, it's almost like work at 100% until you die. You can sleep when you die. And I hate that because at the end of the day, we're people, we're not robots. And I love that BetterUp is committed to changing the face of work culture to make it more human-centered. Because at the end of the day, we can only do what we can do, but we can all do our best. Our best doesn't mean exhausting ourselves of every other resource in every other part of our life in order to do our job. There has to be balance. And so I really get a lot out of these Uplift events. They're one of my favorite things to attend every year virtually. And I'm really hoping one of these years I'll be able to go in person. But virtually, I'm in there. I've already signed up for 2024. I've linked it in the description box below in case you want to sign up as well for a virtual seat or an in-person seat. The seats in person are actually starting at $700. And I think that's because we're in December. You know, the closer we get, the more expensive that likely will be. So just letting you know now, they are very affordable. But anyway, let's take a peek at the 2023 Uplift event.
This is a man who needs no introduction, but as I like to say, I will do one anyways. I am so delighted to introduce to you our Chief Impact Officer, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, a humanitarian, a business leader, a veteran, a philanthropist, a global leader, and one of the foremost voices on why we need to shift the paradigm from mental health being the removal of mental illness to mental health being about our fitness, well-being, and the realization of our peak potential. So without further ado, Harry, come on out.
Alexi's going to start with a rap.
Well, I think you have to beatbox first. That's how it works.
Maybe not.
Yeah. There was a very, very short list. In fact, that list was about one person, and it was Prince Harry. And so when we had the opportunity to meet Harry for us, it was a bit of a no-brainer to have someone who for a decade plus had been advocating through different nonprofits he had started, different foundations like Invictus, the focus on resilience, and have the track record of building organizations and being public about this. It was, for us, a dream come true to have the opportunity to work with you.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So great.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want, I can probably finish that off. Is that why did I choose Better Up?
Why Better Up? That's right.
Because that's all I was offered.
It's also an honest space, not just a safe space.
No, I think from my perspective, my upbringing has always involved charity, and I've always seen charity as being downstream. That's good without the profit piece, and knowing that actually you can still create profit for good. And amongst all the options that were put in front of me, Better Up really stood out from the rest, mainly because of the mission. And the mission was the obvious bit. Then it was a question of, well, who is the man, or who are the people behind this mission? And then Alexi and I went for walks on the beach in the sunlight.
This was in peak COVID, so these were Zoom walks. Yeah.
So the Better Up Uplift 2023 virtual summit and in-person summit was extremely impactful. I won't continue to belabor the point. I went off in that segment. I talked for a really long time, and I want y'all to know I had to edit that down because I just went on a tangent, and I was like, y'all, this is not a video about Better Up only. You got to move on to the next topic, Sharion. So I had to edit some of that out, but feel free to check out some of my previous videos about Better Up. I have gone in depth about Better Up a time or two on this channel. I just think what they're doing is amazing, and I want to continue to wish them continued success because their success means more people are impacted positively, and we can always hope for that. I have shared my corporate horror stories here, and to see that someone is out there truly facing all of the challenges of creating change in the workforce is incredible. All I will say is whatever y'all need from me, let me know. I am here to support your mission, and I want more people to be able to work safely and in healthy environments. But that is why this was the number 6 entry on the list. I think what Prince Harry is doing with Better Up, I think what Better Up is doing in general is amazing. I think Alexi Robichaud has amazing vision, and I can't wait to see all of his vision, his full vision, execute it and come to fruition. And I think collaborating with Prince Harry was genius on his part. And it's great that Prince Harry also shared the same vision in order to join the team as the Chief Impact Officer. I also really love the moment where Alexi Robichaud says, Harry was the only choice. And you know what? You have to have somebody ride for you like that, because so many people doubted his choice. Now, to me and you and I, for us who have gotten to know Harry through his work and through his interviews and the ways that he's let us in, it seemed like an obvious choice to us. But do y'all know there are people out there doubting him as the Chief Impact Officer? Like, oh, Harry's never had a job. Okay, so maybe he can't sit here and fill out a whole Excel, which we don't even know. He probably will be able to. Maybe he can't, do water cooler chat or whatever. But you don't need those things to be successful when you are mission led. When you are led based on the mission and you are putting the time and dedication in and you have the skills to execute the mission, who cares if you understand corporate theatrics? I actually hate corporate theatrics. And as a matter of fact, the pandemic was awful, but one of the only positive things that came out of the pandemic was most people realized that they could do their work from home in a safe environment. And a lot of people doesn't really want you to know that. They want you back in the building so that they can make their money. But a lot of these jobs can be done remotely. I have been working remotely long before the pandemic. So when other people were working remotely, I got a lot of texts and communication that was like, girl, I get it. I get why you will never step foot back in an office again. It's just, if it's not worth it, if you don't have to be, it's just not worth it. And one of the things that I love about Better Up is that it addresses a lot of the reasons that I left the traditional in-person job and I went to all remote jobs, is because it just wasn't safe mentally and emotionally. It was way too unnecessarily time consuming. And I feel like when you are an introvert like myself, or a person who has a disability, or someone who could really benefit from having work at home and having it accessible in that way, you perform on a much higher level. And that was something that I constantly said even before I left in-person work. I would often let my staff work remotely if it was feasible for what they did. Even if it was just 2 or 3 days a week, I saw a vast improvement in productivity, but also just morale. If you can work from home, then you don't have to pay a sitter today. You don't have to commute today. Instead of working at 8 o'clock, maybe you can come in at 7:45 and ease into your workday instead of getting here right at 8 o'clock, maybe 8:01, and jumping right on the phones and didn't get your coffee, didn't get to use the bathroom, didn't get to wash your hands, didn't get to put your paperwork up. Like, it doesn't have to be. And the commute aspect of it was also just a big one for me. But aside from that, it's the constant mental lag of being an introvert in an extroverted setting for 8.5 to 10 hours. That was a lot. The current workplace as it sits is truly made with extroverts in mind. And there is nothing wrong with you being an extrovert and enjoying working with other people who are extroverts and feeding that energy. That's excellent. And that probably aids in your creativity. But for those of us who are not naturally inclined to that, that's a drain, because now I have to take up all this mental energy and mental space being like, okay, what's the best way to respond to this? And someone just standing there while I'm on the phone waiting for me to get off. That is overwhelming for me. And now I'm not really focused on the call and I'm overwhelmed. It's a lot different when it's just a Zoom invitation or a Discord comment or, some other kind of a Skype for business chat. It's a lot different than someone standing over you. And now you're like, okay, did I touch my face too much just now? And oh my God, I got to blow my nose, but they're just staring at me. It's so many social cues that for a person who's not inclined to that, it is overwhelming. It's truly like a second part of the job. It's just as important as the job itself, which is connecting socially in a work environment. When you can remove that, oh, game over. You're going to see so much productivity. You're going to see people execute on a very high level because they're able to work as themselves. They don't have to have the extra mental baggage of putting on a mask. Aside from just that part, BetterUp is aiming to create more mental awareness and emotional awareness in the workplace. Like I said in the segment, too many offices, too many bosses, too many company owners only look at the bottom line. You are just a number, and your productivity is who you are to them. But they didn't ask if your mother may have passed away over the last month. They didn't ask if your child is having trouble at school and you're having to go to different meetings with their teachers and their principals. They didn't ask if you're going through a divorce and are dealing with custody and having to adjust to a new schedule and co-parent. They don't ask those things in a lot of settings. Some people do a great job of managing their office, but the majority of them don't care. And that isn't fair, because at the end of the day, you're not a robot. You're a human. And one of the missions that I love about BetterUp is that they are trying to encourage the workforce and change the workforce to acknowledge that there are humans working and that you are a better employee, but also a better person when your employer acknowledges your humanity. That is such an important aspect. There are so many different positives and upsides to your employer acknowledging that you're a human who deserves to be treated with kindness, compassion, and as a human. And not only that, but BetterUp has so many resources to help improve productivity. So it's a win-win for employers and employees to work with BetterUp. And that's why I've been championing it. Also, as I've been watching it over the last few years, seeing the growth and how the resources and the services have expanded and how they're now working with veterans, as I mentioned, and service members, active duty service members, how they're reaching different parts of the career fields from entry level to CEOs to owners. It's incredible. And I can't wait to continue to document what they're doing and to continue to follow them and to continue to work through them, use their services as needed. They're an amazing resource. Anyway, this is not a commercial, but that's why this was the number 6 entry, because I think the work that BetterUp is doing and the work that Prince Harry is doing with BetterUp is so incredible. And we're going to see the benefits of this for years and years to come. So now for our next moment, number 5 is Meghan's appearance at the Miss Foundation Awards in New York City. Now, I know the first thing that comes to mind when I said that was that gold dress. She looked phenomenal. She had the side part, the gold dress, the shoulders out, the strappy heels. She looked phenomenal. Queen Doria looked phenomenal. Prince Harry looked handsome. They looked like a trio of all trios. They looked beautiful, each and every one of them. From the first shots of her getting out of the car, people were tapping on the glass, losing their mind, all on the red carpet. People were going crazy. It was great to see her at this event and on this red carpet, but it was even better to hear her speech or to read her speech, because I haven't seen any footage of her speech that was very clear aside from cell phone footage, but to hear what she said in that speech was beautiful. Anyway, that's why this is the number 5 moment.
Thank you. Far too kind. Can I get an encore? Do you want more?
Why, yes, you can get an encore, and I'm glad you asked. In May of this year, Meghan was honored with a Woman of Vision Award awarded to her by Miss Foundation for Women. Now, if you've never heard of Miss Foundation for Women, this was an opportunity to learn about them. This was definitely my first time learning about them, and it was absolutely insightful, and I'm glad to have them on my radar now. So, the mission of the Miss Foundation for Women is to build women's collective power in the United States to advance equity and justice for all. We achieve our mission by investing in and strengthening the capacity of women-led movements to advance meaningful social, cultural, and economic change in the lives of women. They had several honorees that night. It was an amazing night, and I still wish we could see this speech in full. However, the parts that we did get of the speech were excellent, most of which was from cell phones footage, but it was great to hear some of the inspiring words that Meghan shared, as well as the other ladies. Meghan was one of 6 honorees for the evening. She received the Woman of Vision Award, as well as Latasha Brown, Wanda Irving, and Kimberly Inez McGuire. Recipient of the Marie C. Wilson Emerging Leader Award went to Olivia Juliana, and recipient of the Free to Be You and Me Award went to Rebecca Brucehoff. And I wanted to read Meghan's biography from their website. It was excellently written. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, is a feminist, champion of human rights and gender equity, and global role model. Her lifelong advocacy for women and girls remains a constant thread she weaves through both humanitarian and business ventures. She has served as UN Women's Advocate for women's political participation and leadership, a World Vision Global Ambassador, and a leading counselor to One Young World since 2014. She and her husband, Prince Harry, founded the Archwell Foundation in 2020 to support communities in need at a micro and macro level in both moments of crisis as well as for long-term aid. In 2022, Meghan launched Archetypes, a record-breaking podcast exploring the labels that try to hold women back. It debuted at #1 in the US, the UK, Australia, Ireland, and New Zealand. She is a New York Times best-selling author with her personal and highly celebrated children's book, The Bench. Meghan is also a passionate advocate for family rights and an investor in dynamic female-founded companies. She and her husband, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, also have been the recipients of the NAACP President's Award as well as the Robert F. Kennedy Ripple of Hope Award. Meghan is noted as one of the most powerful and influential women in the world, topping lists such as Time Magazine's Most Influential People, the Financial Times' 25 Most Influential Women, Variety Power of Women, and British Vogue's Vogue 25. Meghan resides in California with her husband, their children, and their 3 dogs. Before we continue, I love that they always note that the dogs are part of the family. So many people act like dogs are like furniture or accessories, etc. Dogs are family. They feel, and I love that they always regard them as their family unit. One of the reasons this moment was one of my favorites for the entire year is because Meghan was being honored for substance, for what she actually does, how hard she works, and the impact that she makes. So many women, Meghan included, will go into the world and accomplish these amazing things. And we can also add Princess Diana to this list, where they'll accomplish these amazing things, help millions of people, truly make an impact on the world, change the world for the better. And almost as a default, people will kind of minimize them just down to their fashion or their looks. And here's the thing. Fashion is part of both Meghan and Princess Diana's brand. So it's not like it's a bad thing, but when it becomes the only thing that people attribute to you, it does minimize your other accomplishments. Fashion is an amazing outlet, and as Meghan has showed, fashion can be sustainable and environmentally friendly. One of my favorite things that she highlights with not only her fashions, but all the brands that she promotes. However, it's important to talk about the substance as well. And so whenever there's an opportunity to talk about the work that both Meghan and Harry do, but especially women, I like to highlight the work. Researching Princess Diana, she consistently said, I like fashion, but clothes are not who I am. I am who I am, and I am here to make a difference. That is one of my favorite parts of following Princess Diana's legacy, researching her, seeing all of the amazing things that she did. She consistently talked about it. As a matter of fact, in one of my shorts that I shared earlier this month, she did an interview. She and Charles sat down for an interview, and the reporter asked her, do you shop a lot? Now, he asked Charles all these other questions about fatherhood and about leadership and about his future role. And then he gets to Diana, and he asks things like, does Charles help with the kids? And do you shop a lot? Do you like clothes? More so than many, right? You like to shop more than the average woman, right? And he kept bringing it back to that. And she was giving these very polite answers and she was really playing the game. And then at one point, she just says, I like fashion, but not as much as people seem to think I do. I like fashion, but I'm not clothes. I am me, and I am here to make a difference. And she kind of puts him in his place, and it just makes me so happy because it's not just about the great things aesthetically. It's about what she does. It's about the work that she does and the people she impacts. And that is why this is so high up on my list. Once again, congratulations, Meghan. And initially, when I reported on this, I really love the way this video transitioned. So I'm going to share it here because I really like my original video about this event. Now, let's talk about. Hold up. 1 second. Something's wrong here. Let me. That's better. Now let's get into it. A topic that I am very excited to talk about finally tonight. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, was honored at the 2023 Women of Vision Awards in New York City, presented by Miss Foundation for Women. The Duchess was recognized for her global advocacy to empower and advocate on behalf of women and girls. Now, this is something we have covered so much on this channel. It always brings me great pleasure, and I am always glad to talk about the positive side of Meghan and her existence in the public eye. I love it, and this is exactly what it's all about. From her advocating for paid family leave for all, working as a UN Women's Ambassador and advocate, working to destigmatize menstruation in the developing world via her powerful essays, advocating for women's rights to education during her royal tour in 2018, her groundbreaking and explosive podcast, Archetypes, blowing the lid off of harmful terms, slurs, and archetypes that work to hold women back, to her calling out sexism on her own show Suits by pushing back on the sexist scripts that would often have her half naked or in a towel in many of her scenes, and she would have to go back and say no to telling someone with his bald-headed ass, kindly get your finger out of my face. Queen Meghan said anybody can get this smoke, and every time she's awarded for it, I am happy for it, okay? So I intentionally left out the other situation that happened that night because I only want to focus on the positives. I'm so glad that they are safe. I'm so glad that people supported them and the outpouring of support and love drowned out the nonsense that happened that night. And I hope the paparazzi know they deserve the worst that life has to offer for endangering people for some nonsense. And I don't personally think that was normal paparazzi. But I'm not going to dwell on the negative because we're talking about the positive. But that's why one of my favorite moments from the year, my fifth favorite moment from the year, was Meghan's appearance at the Miss Foundation Awards in New York City. This next moment was so special to me, and I think it had a lot to do with not only the mission behind it, but the timing. Around the time that this event happened, my number 4 event, I was actually recapping on this channel, Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words, and we were going through that book together. I think it's a 4-part recap, but if you haven't seen it, feel free to check it out. It's where I read Diana's biography, Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words. And she participated in that. And we go through the whole thing. We follow the story and the history of her participation in that amazing book. And we talk about it and we dissect the events of the book. But we also have a video comparing what Princess Diana experienced in Diana, Her True Story to what Prince Harry shared about his experience in Spare. That is one of my favorite videos to make. It took a lot of research. It took me weeks to put that video together. And I still didn't get to include everything because I didn't want it to be too long. But comparing their memoirs was quite, well, Diana's is an unofficial memoir, but she did participate in it. Everything in the book was from her, but she had to do it in secret because she didn't want to get in trouble by the royal family. She helped write that memoir while she was still a member of the royal family, baby, living at Kensington Palace. So anyway, I said all that to say this next moment happened around the time that we were recapping Diana, Her True Story, and it just hit in a whole different way. My number 4th moment is the Diana Award and Prince Harry's video and his meetings and conversations with the recipients of the Diana Award for 2023. This past summer, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, surprised a group of youngsters in California who have been honored by the Diana Award, the only charity that carries the name of his late mother, Princess Diana. The Diana Award was founded by the late Diana, Princess of Wales' belief that young people have the power to change their community, their country, and the world. They exist to empower young people to make that positive change, and they do this by unlocking potential. With support, guidance, and opportunities, every young person can reach their full potential, ensuring no young person is left out or behind. Creating opportunities. Young people deserve a seat at the table to shape decisions about their shared future. Their voice enriches decision making and inspires us all to do more and to do better. And lastly, inspiring action. With the right support and advocacy, young people have the passion, energy, and insight to lead the change they want to see for themselves, their communities, and the world around them. The event host, V. Kativu, released a short film detailing the interactions that took place at the Conversations for Change seminar, which she captioned, quote, "This conversation was so special and featured global change makers and also supporters of youth dotted around the room. We touched on social media, social justice, inequality, and how to combat burnout while advocating for the incredibly important topics that many of the youth around the table have dedicated their lives to." We're going to take a quick look at her Instagram video before we continue. While the Conversations for Change meetings have taken place around the UK before, this was their first time that the Diana Award had held an event in another country. Before the discussion kicked off, Harry delighted 4 of this year's Diana Award recipients by handing them their certificates. Quote, "One of the things that struck me about even those 4, even though they all do different things, was that their stories were really underpinned by the need for change," Diana Award CEO Tessie Oho. Prince Harry's California meeting took place just ahead of what would have been Princess Diana's 62nd birthday. I included this one because, one, it was really nice to see Prince Harry doing what he does best, which is working for causes that are important to him, as well as honoring his late mother, the Princess of Wales, Princess Diana. I also wanted to include this because look at the work that's being done and the impact that's being made. They're always making sure, and when I say they, I mean Harry and Meghan, but they're always making sure to connect with people who are in different facets of every cause. They don't just talk to people on the ground level. They don't just talk to people at a bird's eye level. They talk to everyone. And in my opinion, they really do foster an environment where people can actually come together and have constructive conversations, particularly people who are working for the same or similar causes who may or may not have ever ended up in the same room. I don't think people realize how revolutionary that is. With the power of social media, we do have a lot more contact with people in ways that we normally wouldn't have, but also by fostering in-person conversations, a lot can get done. People can be heard out. And one of the biggest parts of conversation for me that is severely missed in social media, especially in comment sections and in emails, is tone. People forget tone. Even I have gotten, quote, compliments or comments or whatever that were intended to be positive, but because tone is completely ignored, it comes off pretty nasty. I'll say. And so sometimes people can miss each other because the avenues in which we're communicating through don't allow for tone. And with these in-person conversations, if you notice with the Parent Summit and with the Diana Award and the conversations that took place in California that Prince Harry conducted, not to be confused with the work that was done in the UK at the ceremony, Prince Harry actually conducted conversations. He brought people together and he met with people firsthand outside of presenting them an award, which fosters conversations that can actually lead to change, real, tangible change. And the reason that's so important and, in my opinion, revolutionary is because these people may or may not have ever met in person or have been able to have a sit down, have a lunch, have a conversation in person to actually talk about the needs of the cause. That is important because if people are going to work for the same cause, it's important to maximize your impact. If we're both working on the ground level, we don't need to be doing the exact same thing. We need to be covering all our bases, spreading out our efforts, spreading out our works, and playing to our interests and our strengths. By bringing people together, that increases your impact. And that's why I really love this moment. It's another, and mind you, we didn't even learn about this event until nearly a month later. That's why I always use these moments to remind people that they are constantly working when we don't see it. Most people are, but for some reason, when they don't have a camera in their face, people assume they're just at home with their feet kicked up. That is not the case. And I can tell you 1,000,001 stories about what people think I do as a YouTuber. People think, oh, it's not a live stream, you're doing nothing. About 8 to 10 hours of work goes into every live stream, believe it or not. So I would love for it to be a nice 2-3 hour thing, but unfortunately, I'm not that good yet, or I don't have a good enough equipment to make it a 2 or 3 hour task. But when you don't see the work, it doesn't mean it's not getting done. And why I chose this moment was, one, because Prince Harry honored his mother, the late Princess Diana, which I'm always going to find that to be endearing. But two, he was doing ground floor work and high level work. That is no easy feat. Good for Prince Harry, good for all of the recipients of the Diana Award, and good for everyone who works for the Diana Award. Your mission is incredible and truly, truly making an impact.
The challenges we face in society today require fresh perspectives, innovative solutions, and I firmly believe that each one of us has the power to make a real difference. Please welcome Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
Thank you, V, for the very warm welcome. It's a pleasure to be here today celebrating the incredible achievements of young people who embody the spirit of the Diana Award. To equality and justice has inspired many, including myself. Each one of us has the ability to help create a more equitable world, and the brilliant award recipients we're honouring today are proof of that. They exemplify the notion that when we use our voices, change really can happen.
And I completely agree.
Absolutely, V. Your voice is a powerful voice. As we come together, I'm reminded of the profound belief that my mother held in the transformative power of young people. She recognized their unique ability to challenge the status quo and push for a more inclusive and compassionate society. Her legacy continues to inspire and serve as an example of how to navigate the complexities of the whole world today. And so many of the numerous challenges that we face disproportionately affect young people and, of course, their futures. And whether it's climate change, mental well-being, or systemic injustices, the obstacles can sometimes seem overwhelming. But what gives me hope is the collective power we possess when we work together, the strength in diversity of voices and perspectives that encompass it.
Once again, Harry and Meghan doing the work that continues to reach in so many different corners of the earth and reach so many underserved people and underserved communities. They really do create opportunities for people. And the Diana Award is another version of that. So as you know, as I explained in the segment, this was created from Diana's philosophy and her willingness and her dedication to helping others. So to see that carried out through her sons, I mean, William is involved too, but I don't talk about William on this channel for good reason. But to see how Prince Harry has really followed through with Diana's mission in a number of ways. We've also talked about his involvement with the Halo Trust, which is a charity I support, but it was made really famous when Princess Diana walked through the landmine to support the Halo Trust and the removal of landmines so that kids and families and just people in general could have safe places to walk. Kids were blowing up on their way to school, and parents and families were blowing up on their way to just walking random places because of the undiscovered landmines, and the Halo Trust is removing those. And with her support, it impacted them in so many great ways. They got a lot of support. And in the area where she walked, there's actually a town there now. So her work has extended long after her life has ended. And that just is a testament to her impact. She passed away far too young. But even with the work that she did in her very few 36 years on this earth, she accomplished so much. So to see that her son is carrying out her legacy through work and being dedicated to helping others, it was just such a beautiful thing. And to see that event and to see that happening, and we didn't really learn about it until a month after, but to learn about that and see the video and see the footage and follow all of the recipients, I went and followed them on social media and see their experience firsthand at the same time that we are recapping Diana, her true story. It was a lot. It was kind of overwhelming, but in the best way. And it was just great to see her legacy lived out through Prince Harry. And I've said this a number of times, and I know a lot of you have said it as well. Her spirit lives on very much so through her son and her grandchildren. Absolutely. So that is why that was the number 4th moment. I really loved that moment. It was very close to number 1. And at that moment, it was just so beautiful to see, especially considering the contents of the memoir and some of the subject matter that we had to cover. Much like Spare, there was a lot of really sad moments and really traumatic moments. So to see the good that came from a life well lived and to see that continuing on in 2023 was a beautiful, beautiful moment. So that's why that was the number 4th entry. For my number 3 spot, we actually just talked about this because we went through the Archwell Foundation Impact Report for 2023, and we really talked about this moment. But of course, you know, I'm talking about the Parent Summit presented by Archwell Foundation. Now, this moment was so beautiful to see what those parents had to say and share their experiences. To read the report was also very impactful because we got to see how working with parents and seeing the impact, especially through the numbers, how it reached so many people and how it has the potential to continue to grow and to continue to help more people and create a safer online world for everyone, not just children, but adults too. it was a really beautiful thing to see. And I really love the work that Harry and Meghan are doing. That is why this moment was number 3 on my list. It could have been much higher, but I only had 10 spots. But the work that they are doing is truly going to change the world. And it's interesting to be in the thick of it and know between you and I, to know that we're witnessing history. Like, we're watching history be made. We're watching how the fruits of a very, very beautiful existence online or in any other capacity is being created right now as the seeds are being planted. And to see it happening in real time and to look forward with such hope and positivity for the future, I'm excited to see what comes from this. As someone who works online, I don't really like to be online unless it's in a work capacity now. I mean, from time to time, I'll update my Instagram, and I'm trying to get better at that. I promise y'all, I'm trying to get better at that. I just reached 16,000 followers on Instagram, and I was like, where y'all come from? So I'm trying to post more, but I don't do a lot of scrolling. If I do scroll a little bit, it's on Spoutable or Twitter, and I'll comment on things here and there. But it is a dangerous, lawless world online. And it's great to see the work that Harry and Meghan are doing. But it's also great to highlight the worst case scenarios, but also to talk about preventative measures and solutions, not just talk about problems, but talk about the solutions. And I think a lot was accomplished through this first parent summit. So that is why this is the number 3 moment on my list. The Archwell Foundation Parent Summit, Mental Wellness in a Digital Age, brought together parents who have experienced tragic loss connected to their child's social media use for a discussion on building community and creating a safer online world for young people. During an intimate conversation, these parents discuss how they are using their stories to inspire action and raise awareness of the dangers to young people's mental health. The parents, whom the Archwell Foundation has engaged with over the past year, highlighted the strength and community they have found through a shared passion for creating meaningful change to prevent more families from this tragedy. The Archwell Foundation Parent Summit, Mental Wellness in the Digital Age, took place as part of Project Healthy Minds' second annual World Mental Health Day Festival and came as the couple's second stop on World Mental Health Day following a morning visit to the Marcy Lab School in Brooklyn. The summit also doubled as the first in-person event from the Archwell Foundation, which the Duke and Duchess of Sussex launched in 2020. After the summit, Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, listened to 2 panels where 2 groups of parents emotionally spoke about navigating their life after loss and the urgency of building a better online world. The couple then took the stage for a conversation with the Surgeon General, moderated by Carson Daly, about the importance of this work and potential solutions. Expressing his gratitude to the parents who took part in the summit, Prince Harry began by saying, quote, "I can't start without thanking all the parents, the mothers and fathers for being with us physically today, but also being on this journey with us for the last year, creating this community of shared experience. We know it's not easy for you guys to be here, so thank you very much." The Duke and Duchess of Sussex also touched on how becoming parents to Archie and Lilibet has fueled their fire to making the digital world a better place. At the end of the panel, Carson Daly turned to Meghan and asked, quote, "As a mom of 2 young kids, after the stories that we heard today from these families that you've gotten to know over the past year and the work that Archwell is doing in this space, where is this on the priority list? Not as a kick-ass woman, but as a mom." Excuse my French. It was a very funny moment, but a really great question. Meghan replied by saying, "Being a mom is the most important thing in my entire life, outside, of course, being a wife to this one," as she pointed to Harry. "But I will say, I feel fortunate that our children are at an age, again, quite young, so this isn't in our immediate future, but I also feel frightened at how it's continuing to change, and this will be in front of us." The Archwell Foundation Parents Summit, Mental Wellness in a Digital Age, gave a voice to families who are passionate about building a safer online world for children and teens. Uplifting communities, building a better online world, and restoring trust and information are the key pillars of the Archwell Foundation, which the Duke and Duchess of Sussex launched in 2020.
So that will distract everybody from the harms of social media, but at the same time, there's a huge amount of creative space. I think, again, for kids, we have to do more to protect them, because they don't know any better, they don't know any different. And therefore, once you go down that rabbit hole, you get pulled in. And just as much as these platforms, these devices are, super addictable and very important for a lot of kids to communicate with other kids, especially when they need support, then that it's very hard as a parent to take the device away. As you said, like once they're on it, they're on it. You have to do more at the entry point, whether there's an induction process or whether there's a licensing. I mean, Germany's fantastic at licensing pretty much everything in life. And
social media as it pertains to the youth, your youth, your two kids, mental. Where is that now on a priority list? Not as a kick-ass woman, but as a mom. Excuse my French.
Thank you. So it worries me, but I'm also given a lot of hope and a lot of energy by the progress we've made in the past year, being able to have these incredible parents, these survivors of this experience to share their stories. It allows us to continue to learn, and the more information we have, the more information gathering we're able to do, the more we can have these high-level conversations and try to move the needle a little bit. I just think anyone who's a parent, and by the way, even if you're not a parent, you see your friends affected, you see adults who are affected by this. Everyone now is affected by the online world and social media, some more than.
I also failed to mention that Carson Daly, being the host of the Parents Summit, was a really good pick. He's a great moderator. He asks really great questions, but I love the way that he helped the flow of conversation. You have Harry and Meghan right in front of you. It can be overwhelming. You might want to ask them anything. This is your opportunity. And he did a great job because he's seasoned, of course. This is a professional. He did a great job of keeping the conversation on task, asking the right questions, but also facilitating questions and answers from the audience as well. That whole panel was really great. Harry and Meghan do panels well. That's something we've talked about before. They do panels well. We just talked about that when it comes to the after. But Carson Daly moderated very, very well. That's something I didn't mention in the segment. And afterwards, I was like, that was one of my top points. It was very well put together. I also really appreciate that they don't speak on behalf of people. And a lot of those who advocate for underserved communities have an issue with centering themselves. That's something that is, in my opinion, it can do more harm than good. If you see what's going on with some other organizations that I do support, but some other organizations, sometimes people can act as a mouthpiece for those who are underserved, as opposed to using their platform to uplift and to provide a way for that person to speak on their own behalf. Because what you don't want to do is, in your process of advocating, also rob the person of their own ability to speak for themselves. And so they do a wonderful job of providing, not just providing a voice, but providing a platform so people can use their voice to express themselves adequately. And I really appreciate that they gave the parents the floor. They also didn't do that thing where they minimize. When someone is talking about something heavy or stressful or painful to them, sometimes it is in our nature, because a lot of us are nurturers and we want people to feel better. It can be in our nature to be like, oh, no, don't cry, or I'm so sorry, or no, don't cry. Don't let it get to you. It's going to be okay. And one of the things that I notice about these parents is they don't shut each other down. They don't minimize each other's feelings. They don't shut each other down. They don't invalidate each other, and neither do Harry and Meghan. During these conversations, people have the floor, and that is true in every sense. They're able to express themselves. They're able to share their opinion. They're able to share what they feel led to what happened to them. And all of them have faced some sort of extremely traumatic loss or a brush with potential loss through their children's online use. And I'm pretty sure they have a lot to say, but in that process, it can bring up a lot of tough emotions. But in the process of seeing those emotions, we can't be so quick to get the message that we shut down the real lived experience and the humanity of the person speaking. And that's something that Harry and Meghan do a really great job of, is they allow people to express themselves fully, and they know how to respond. Now, my awkward self, when people cry in front of me, even though I know I shouldn't say it, I struggle with finding things to say outside of, oh no, I'm so sorry, or I hope you feel better. And I know it's not helping. I know it's genuine, because I really do feel that way, but I know it's not well received because I feel minimized when people say it to me. And so I have worked really hard on having like 7 or 8 canned phrases for every moment like that I really do I really do appreciate, because I lean into them when people start crying in front of me, or when people are struggling in front of me, or when people are wanting to share something that's sensitive, and knowing that sometimes no words is the best way to respond. And sometimes just you can go on, or it's okay, you can share as much as you want, or you don't have to share anything that makes you uncomfortable. Sometimes giving people an out makes them feel more courageous to speak, because they know that this is my choice. I'm not being pressured, and it takes the weight off the moment. And it's taken me a long time to kind of learn that. Y'all know I'm awkward. I'm better in a virtual sense, because I can pause and take a deep breath and go on about my business. But aside from that, I really appreciate that they give the parents the floor. that they gave the doctor the floor, that they gave the moderator the floor, and they don't take their voice away from them. They use their platform to uplift their voices. That is essential in advocacy work, and they do a wonderful job of that. And that's why this was my number 3 moment. We're down to the number 2 moment. Feel free to speculate what you think my number 1 moment will be and my number 2 moment will be. We've had a lot to pick from. I mean, I struggled to get this list down to 10 moments from this year. They've been really busy. They've been really busy doing a lot. So while you speculate, I want you to guess in the comment section or in the live chat what you think my number 1 and 2 moments will be. And while we do that, I'm going to share a special message regarding Fisher House Foundation. As you know, for the month of December 2023, I'm running a fundraiser on behalf of the Fisher House Foundation, where I am a groundbreaker, which means I am allowed to virtually fundraise on their behalf. This was such a huge honor. As to this day, I'm still so surprised that they allowed me to be a groundbreaker. I'm so excited to be able to advocate on their behalf because what they do is so amazing. We're going to watch a short clip of them while you speculate what my number 1 and 2 moments are. But don't forget, the fundraiser is only going on for the month of December. That means we only have 3 days left to continue to fundraise. So feel free to use the link in the description box below for the Streamlab campaign page so you can donate directly to the campaign. Or you can use the donate button at the bottom of the screen that YouTube has provided. And because it is charity, they do not take any fees out of that donation. Whatever you donate through YouTube donation button or the care button in the corner of your live chat will go 100% to the fundraiser. So they don't take any fees from charity. So thank you so much, YouTube, for supporting the mission. In the meantime, watch this short clip, and I want you to guess what you think my number 1 and 2 moments are. Usually this is the moment where I ask people to like, subscribe, share, and comment. But since we are still conducting our fundraiser on behalf of Fisher House Foundation, I am asking that you please, if you're in the holiday spirit, take a moment to donate to the Fisher House Foundation. Fisher House benefits military service members, veterans, and their families in times of crisis. So please feel free to donate using the button below that says donate, or if you're in the live chat, use the heart with the giving hands. And since this is charity, YouTube will donate 100% of your donation to Fisher House. They do not take a percentage because it is charity.
Showing us the power in not defining people by assumption or their backstory or past pain, but rather instead on their ability, how they show up, and who they are in the present.
Family is about connection. And a big reason why we started the family program has now gone viral internationally and is impacting so many.
So Bedford was shot.
Where are we going to stay? Like, I can't afford Hawaii. Like, I'm a social worker. I'm like, what are we going to do? Everything was taken care of for us. We would go to Fisher House, walk to the hospital every day, walk back to Fisher House. I remember my first morning waking up, it smelled bacon and eggs and everything. And I go out and all these families, military families, make breakfast for you. Just knowing that you had a place to stay.
I am an advocate for the Fisher House.
So he spent 3 months in the VA hospital to stay at the Fisher House.
During the worst times of my life, the Fisher House was my home away from home.
I've stayed at 2 different Fisher Houses. Nothing but good things to say about not only the house itself, but the staff.
I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who have already donated. Thank you so much to Fisher House Foundation for what you do for service members, veterans, and their families. And thanks to everyone who watches the channel and has really helped this fundraiser to take off. I really appreciate your generosity.
Oh, really? Please.
Boom.
This next moment, coming in at number 2, is absolutely one that is very, very personal to me. I had such an amazing time, not only supporting veterans, not only seeing Harry and Meghan in person, but also just spending time at the Invictus Games and watching the damn competitions. When I tell you I was into it, at one point I was tweeting about wheelchair rugby and I'd gotten so into it, my hands were sweating. First of all, the Merkerspiel was hot as heck and the seats were small. They forgot we got big bone people out here like myself, big bone, when I really know all the weight on my bones is Reese's, but we gonna blame it on my genetics. When they got big bone people like myself, I'm sitting in 2 seats. I'm like, it's hot as hell. Germans are tiny people. But we had a good time nonetheless. I had gotten so into it that I was tweeting the entire rugby game. And I was like, Sharion, you don't have to tweet this, girl. I was just excited. We were all into it, screaming. Y'all know, y'all don't know this, but I love crowd participation. I am the biggest fan of crowd participation. If you invite me to a concert where they say, oh, I'm about to be the loudest oh. If they say ho, ho, I'm ho, ho. And when they say somebody scream, I am about to rupture my vocal cords. I love crowd participation. So every time we got to lose a little boom, boom, bah, boom, boom, I was doing that. Legs just a raw for me slapping them. I'm screaming. I'm getting excited. I'm all into it. Now, what I will say is I did not know that the chairs had such loud impact noises. And every time they made those loud bangs against each other, I was like, oh, shoot. Everybody okay? It was just so loud. They were the athletes and the competitors were just so competitive. They put on a show. Now I know the win was the goal, but they absolutely won when they entertained me. I was so into it. That was such a good time. I cannot wait for Vancouver Whistler. I'm definitely going to be there in 2025. I hope to see y'all there. But the Invictus Games was fun. Aside from the amazing benefit of the Invictus Foundation and the charity side of it and the amazing recovery, the aiding and recovery that the Invictus Games provides, it's just a damn good time. And I appreciated that they had multiple Invictus stores and shops around the campus because it's just so big. There was so much going on. There was basketball, there was outdoor activities, there was indoor activities, there was tabletop activities. It was so much. And the fact that we were staying at the Merkerspiel in the Tulip Inn, we were able to see a lot of the games from the dining hall. So we could eat and just watch from there, from the comfort of inside of the hotel, which that is genius to have a hotel inside the stadium. That was so convenient for us because I don't like to commute. Once I get where I'm going, I want to be there. So I appreciated that aspect. I had a good time. I could talk about this all day, but as y'all know, y'all sent me, between y'all and my husband, y'all all sent me to Germany. And I think half of y'all wanted me to stay over there. I think y'all were trying to get rid of me. I know you said you did it out of the kindness of your heart, but I think y'all were trying to get rid of me. I must have said something that was rude or went a little too far in one of my rants, and y'all were like, get rid of this heifer. We're sending you to Dusseldorf and stay. But that's okay, baby. I'm back. And so, but anyway, whatever your reasons were for sending me there, thank you so much. I had a darn good time. We had a good time. Me, my husband, we had such a good time. And as y'all know, I was born in Germany, and it was my first time going back as an adult. So that was just that was a once in a lifetime. I'll probably go back to Germany again, but just that experience, especially having you guys be a big part of that, was just a full circle moment for me. There have been times where I considered quitting YouTube, and it was just like, sometimes taking the heat and the constant, not just from trolls, but from people who subscribe and just the constant nitpicking. There have been times throughout the year where that has really gotten to me. And I was just like, it's just not, something I want to continue doing. It is causing stress. And I found ways to manage it. And with YouTube's help, I found ways to really modify what I'm seeing. And my moderators are no joke. So I've just gotten out of the way and let them do their job. But there have been times it has been difficult to endure, and to have the positive upside of staying on YouTube and continuing to invest in this hobby one of the upsides be to connect me with my roots essentially and send me back to where I entered this earth. It was such a full circle moment, and to do so while supporting veterans, and military service members, which is something I'm very, very passionate about. It was so full circle. I caught myself multiple times being like, girl, you better not cry. Don't do this. Like, y'all know I get shy when I cry. I just go into a hole. And I'm so sensitive. So I'm trying to work on that. But anyway, the Invictus Games served as a number of impactful moments for me personally. And so I wanted this one to be my number one spot. But when you see what's number one, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, you kind of didn't have a choice. But the Invictus Games is technically sharing the number one spot with the number one moment. But this is Invictus Games in general does amazing work. And what they do, I truly, truly believe in. And so many people have been positively impacted by it. But aside from just that, the way that it felt to connect with the energy, everybody there was just kind of on the same vibe. And I'll say this, and I don't want anybody to be mad at me, but I'm American. And being in large crowds gives me a little bit of anxiety, because y'all know America has a problem with mass pums over here. So I avoid large crowds, especially outside. You're really not going to catch me at a block party or anything like that. It's just anxiety. I mean, I just got to where I'll go back to the movies a couple of years ago, because for a minute I would not go to the movies. For years I would not go to the movies. So after what happened at the Dark Knight screening, I believe it was. So it was a long time before I would go to the movies again. So I'll say being at the Merkerspiel, First of all, I was surrounded by service members and military people. Wasn't nobody gonna pop off there. I was the safest I was ever gonna be in life, surrounded by all those service members and those soldiers. I felt so good. Everywhere we walked, there was a bunch of soldiers from all kind of countries. It was great to see everybody. I felt so safe there. But also, Germany don't play that. So, they don't play that. So it was really nice to be somewhere where I could be like, a crowd, and I'm not worried about where you going, what you going in your sock for, or what's in your belt. Like, I wasn't worried about it. I love being a Texan, but those holsters are everywhere, and sometimes it's daunting. It can be really hard to enjoy yourself in a crowd. So that's why my number 2 spot is the Invictus Games. Of course, you knew that I was going to put the Invictus Games on this list. Now, the Invictus Games is something that I've covered from afar, and this year I had the pleasure of covering in person in Dusseldorf, Germany. I documented my entire experience as well as recapped part of Invictus. Feel free to check those videos out. But for those of you who may be new here, I know I've acquired a lot of subscribers in the last few months who may have come in after my trip to Invictus. You might not know much about it, so allow me to share its history. Returning from deployment in Afghanistan, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, watched as the coffin of a Danish soldier was loaded aboard for repatriation, alongside 3 injured British soldiers. That moment had a profound impact on him, and following a visit to the U.S. Warrior Games in 2013, he was inspired to create the International Invictus Games to celebrate the unconquered human spirit and shine a spotlight on these men and women who served. The Invictus Games Foundation offers a recovery pathway for international wounded, injured, and sick servicemen and women. We collaborate to provide opportunities for post-traumatic growth, enabling those involved to reclaim their purpose, identity, and future beyond injury. Participation in sports recovery via the Invictus Games has a significant short and long-term positive impact on the recovery journey of international wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and veterans. Interim findings so far indicate that its competitors experienced greater post-traumatic recovery than those who did not participate. The research explores the long-term physical, psychological, and social impact of sport participation for recovery and indicates that competitors demonstrated a greater appreciation of life, a greater understanding of new possibilities that exist post-injury or illness, and a greater development of personal strength. The Invictus Games Foundation is the charity behind the Invictus Games and was established following the success of the Invictus Games in London in 2014. The Duke of Sussex and the organizing committee of the Games always hoped that they would be the beginning of the Invictus story, that other cities and countries around the world would take up the challenge. The inaugural Invictus Games created a blueprint for inspiring many more wounded warriors and their journey of recovery. For every competitor that took part in 2014, there are many more who would benefit from having the same opportunity. And we see the numbers of participants as well as volunteers and attendees and spectators grow every single game. Following the Invictus Games in Dusseldorf, Germany this year, Prince Harry commented, "Germany, thank you so much for the reception and the respect that you've given every single competitor and their family and friends." From the Duke of Sussex, patron of the Invictus Games Foundation.
Vielen Dank an alle Düsseldorfer und vielen Dank an Deutschland für dieses fantastische Spiel. But I also hope that you are mentally stronger than when you arrived. We may have provided the platform, but you provided the magic. And don't you ever forget that. We've all...
If I said it once, I'll say it again. If you ever get the chance to go to the Invictus Games, go. And if you ever have the chance to compete in the Invictus Games, please do. I am always going to root for all the competitors. Now, see, that's why I'm not a good spectator, because I root for everybody. But I will say, when I saw that red, white, and blue, when I saw that American flag, I was like, you know what? They ain't so bad. They not so bad. I love supporting us. Now we can act a fool when we over here, but when we go abroad, we put on our best show. And Team America, Team USA did a great job. I also, I supported Germany too because we were at home and I was at home. I was supporting Germany. I was screaming loud, and I was using my little limited German language here and there. I had a good time. But if you ever have the chance to go to the Invictus Games, please do. And if you're ever in the giving sphere, please support the foundation. They do amazing, amazing work. And not only Invictus Games, but Heart of Invictus too. If you haven't seen it, it's the docuseries based on the Invictus Games and the Invictus Games Foundation, and it's currently on Netflix. I recapped it. So I'm about to do a little shameless plug. Watch it and then watch my recap. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But anyway, that was a good time had by all. And I love following those stories. One in particular was Gabriel George. He represented Team USA, and he went by the one-armed archer. His story was so good. I think it was the one that I related to the most. Every single story was impactful. They picked really great people to follow because they had a really diverse group of cast so that they could tell different stories. No two people had a similar or the same story. But Gabriel George was from Team USA, and he was also born and raised in Texas, but he lives in Florida now. I mean, I wasn't born. I was raised in Texas, born in Germany, but raised in Texas, and now I live in Florida. And so his story I connected with for a number of reasons. He was also the Black cast member. So it was a lot that he talked about that I understood. And to learn more, not only about his accident, but also how he has continued to live life with one arm. It was so not just inspiring, but it was just interesting. There's a lot that you don't realize about how inaccessible our world is until you hear it from a person who experiences it firsthand. I have an uncle who is in a wheelchair, and as a young girl, I've always been faced with, is this accessible for him? When I was planning my wedding, I nixed like 18 venue options, which was helpful, but I nixed 18 venue options because they didn't have a wheelchair ramp or a lift. How is my uncle going to get into the not the arena, child, but how is my uncle going to get into the ceremony if he doesn't have a ramp or a lift? Y'all want him to be carried in? Like, no, I wanted him to have the same experience as everyone else. And so always having people in my family where accessibility was important to them and had to be considered, I've always just had that perspective. But as you go into the world, you realize that architects, people who build the world around us often make accessibility like the bare minimum. One of the things that I've noticed, even about my gym, is how inaccessible it is. Just from the layout, the pathways aren't that large. And I'm like, okay, well, people with different accessibility, who have different accessibility needs would need a larger pathway. I even struggle with dipping in and out between machines just to get to the back to put my things in a locker. And it can be really difficult for me. And I'm like, they didn't consider anyone outside of the standard or the typical able-bodied person. And even getting into my gym, the ramps to come up, the wheelchair ramps or just the sidewalk ramps are really far. So if you're going to go to the gym for whatever reason, you would have to start way down and damn near a quarter mile and then come all the way back. And so it's just, you notice the world around you in a different way when you open your mind to hear the perspective of other people. And that's something that Heart of Invictus really offered. I don't think it was 100% their intent, but it's damn sure a great byproduct of it. Amongst other things, learning Yulia's story was beautiful, and really seeing what was going on in Ukraine. As an American, a lot of times our news can be really isolated, and that's something social media has done an excellent job of creating accessibility to, which is world news and not just filtered, heavily crafted news. That's why I love social media, and that's why they be attacking TikTok the way they do, as well as Twitter. But in addition to that, Heart of Invictus did a wonderful job of really giving us insight into what was going on in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia, what was going on with Yulia and the story behind that. A lot of us didn't have the full story. We saw what was going on and we saw bits and pieces of the truth. Thank you, Heart of Invictus, for putting that out there. Yet again, another really positive upside to the Invictus Foundation, not just the games themselves, but the foundation does amazing, amazing work. And so that's why this was the number 2 moment from this year. I would actually have to say it shares the spot with Heart of Invictus because that was a really good docuseries. Like, even if you don't watch it with the intent to learn, it's just an enjoyable watch. It was an enjoyable watch. So that is why that is the number 2 spot. For my number one spot, there's really only one answer here. That would have to be the one and only Spare. Absolutely number one spot. You knew what I was going to say was my favorite moment from 2023, and it happened January 10th, 2023. Spare was released and gave me all the tea, but not just the tea, but the truth. The truth. And it was served up hot and ready. And I'll say this, I don't know which one I appreciated more. If it was Spare itself or everything that came with it. When I tell you, you don't know true impact with a memoir like Spare, I've never seen anything like that before. Prince Harry really did stand on business. He was courageous, he was honest, and he really did have to speak out. The thing is, a lot of people who bash Prince Harry for writing Spare and releasing it, they really don't realize he didn't have no other choice. Like, what did you want the man to do? Keep being lied on? Like, if I come to your house and I say, I'm going to use you, Queen Berta Sanchez, because you know I adore you. If I go hang out with Queen Berta Sanchez and then I come back over here, and because I'm the one with the microphone for the moment, I say, y'all, I can't stand Queen Berta Sanchez, and then I just tell a whole lot of lies, and you really don't have any choice but to sit with it, you wouldn't take too kindly to that. And everybody and their mama will be like, Sharion, you're wrong, as they should be. So why are the rules different? Now, we can notice it when it's on a micro level like that. When we notice people doing wrong and lying on folks and spreading gossip, we can acknowledge when it's wrong in that capacity. But when it's an actual institution with access to, not even access, control of the media they claim that they're at the helm of, they very much partner with and control, they can incite a global attack on two people for no reason with their lies. And Prince Harry, for a lifetime, not just Meghan, but he by himself was taking that abuse for a lifetime. And then they massively troll him on a global level for no reason at all. And y'all want that man to just take. Half of y'all can't even stand a little gossip from the neighbor down the street, but you wanted this man to continue to take global abuse so that you can continue your fantasy of gold carriages and crowns and robes? Absolutely not. Hold your folks accountable. And that's what I love about Spare, because it sent that message. Hold your people accountable. It's okay if you want to like Charles and them. Charles and them. The rest don't get a name. He barely got a name. Charles the Trash and them. It's okay if you want to like them, but hold them accountable just as with anything else. I love Reese's, but if they were leaving fingernails and toe bones and all kind of stuff in the recipe, I would call them out. I'd say, hey, Hershey, now want to keep investing in your product. Invest in it. I got to make it sound more important. I love Reese's. I want to keep eating your candy. But you can't keep putting toe bones in it. Just please don't put the toe bone. Hold them accountable. Anything that you care about, you hold accountable. Do people just let their kids run amok without teaching them how to operate in the world? No, most people who love their children do not do that. You understand that discipline and integrity are key ingredients to truly reciprocal relationships. So if you want to support the royal family, why wouldn't you hold them accountable and say, now, hey, royals, I done liked your little shows you put on, but this is not okay. What y'all did to this man, how my thumb go? There we go. How y'all treated this man was not okay. And you need to clean house and tighten up. Y'all would rather support people like Dan Wooten, Piers Morgan, Jeremy Clarkson, Camilla, both of them. Y'all would rather celebrate people like that and what they stand for than simply say, we agree with Harry and we want to hold you accountable. Harry himself said, I'm doing this because I want to make things better. I've tried talking to them in private. I've tried it their way. And every time they have leaked against me or the behavior has gotten worse. He tried every opportunity to fix this. And it wasn't even his problem to fix, but he was absolutely the victim of the unfixed problem. And that's the problem. He had to come with solutions to his own abuse. He showed courage in ways that family as a whole could never show. He has more courage in his pinky than that entire family has ever had in its existence. And it all comes down to Prince Harry and his mother, Princess Diana. He definitely got it honest. That courage came honest from the Spencers. So that is why Spare is my number one moment of 2023. So
husband, father, military veteran, and activist. Prince Harry's revealing and controversial memoir has jumped to the top of several bestseller lists. He has 3 dogs, 2 kids, and lives in Southern California.
The book, titled Spare, explores Harry's grief after the death of his mother, Princess Diana, and also his longtime resentment at the role of Royal Spare, overshadowed by his older brother, William.
The Duke of Sussex. Spare has been making headlines as the 38-year-old former senior member of the British royal family bears all.
Duke of Sussex revealing the stinging reality of the book title, a phrase he says was not just used in tabloids, but within his own family.
Well, you've written this very intimate memoir, which I've read, and it's fascinating. It's a very good read by itself.
The fanfare surrounding today's release, drumming up chatter and sales. Spare already becoming the fastest-selling non-fiction book ever in the UK, and the audiobook now a bestseller on Amazon, Spotify, and Audible.
I like him. I like him. I like the royal family.
Prince Harry.
Prince Harry's Spare tops the list of the BBC's 11 most controversial culture moments of 2023. I have read Spare, I've listened to the audiobook, I've recapped the book, and I did so in several videos at the top of the year. I've even spent the last year dissecting this memoir and tying up loose ends with you all. Every story that has been cranked out through the royal family machine, we have had no problem cracking open Spare, thumbing to the necessary page, and correcting the BS. Historians at Boston University have even cited this book as a gold mine. It broke records, sales records, and historic records. It shared insight into intentional lies and common misconceptions about the royal family, and it achieved all of this through Prince Harry's courage and unabashed truth. Spare is the single most impactful book of 2023, and that is putting it extremely lightly, seeing as though many have actually celebrated this memoir as being the most impactful book in the last 3 decades, since that of his mother. There was no other choice for the number one moment of 2023 than the release of Spare by Prince Harry. While Prince Harry's account shares hard truths and difficult experiences, including trauma, it also shares the upsides in his life, serving as both inspiration, nostalgia, humor, and introspection. I am an avid reader, and I can say I have never quite had an experience like Spare. So what do you think about my number one choice? Let me know what you think in the comment section or in the live chat below. Now, again, if you did not catch my recaps of Spare, feel free. I know most of y'all found me from me recapping the book, but feel free to check them out. They're on the channel here. A lot has changed since I did those recaps. Not this sweater, though. I wore this in one of the recaps. I kept it up for a whole year, y'all. Look at me. But it was really great to recap the book because I feel like we learned about Harry the man. And that is really hard to do when he doesn't really sit down for a lot of interviews. He really keeps his privacy and he maintains he keeps his own counsel. He really doesn't rely on validation from other people. He doesn't really do interviews. He only talks about the issues that are important to him. And I completely understand that. So for him to give us this kind of access was unprecedented. And I feel like we learned a lot. And I feel like we got to know him as a man, got to know Meghan in a much deeper way. And it was really great to experience their story together as well as their stories apart. And I feel like it was masterfully executed following up Harry and Meghan, the docuseries. I thought that was genius because we got their love story and then the media's involvement. And then we got Harry's story, the true Harry story. And even people who have been following Prince Harry's life since he was a baby didn't know most of what was shared because the media has been lying to you forever. Why you would want to continue celebrating and uplifting a media that intentionally lies to you and lies to you maliciously is beyond me. If somebody came to save me from an oppressive entity that is deceiving me, I wouldn't throw rocks at them. I would say, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy and very privileged and very happy life to think about me, someone who wouldn't have the resources to handle this on my own. Thank you so much for making the world a safer place for me. But instead, people throw rocks at him. And that's why I celebrate him. That's why I celebrate Meghan. That's why I celebrate those babies. That's why I celebrate Queen Doria. That's why I celebrate Spare as well as everything that came with it. Because if we cannot live in a truthful world, what is truly the point? If we can't trust our news, what is the point? What is the point? It's not there to be entertaining, despite what some people like to say. It's there to inform. And if it's informing us inaccurately, then we need to fix that. And thank you, Harry, for pointing that out. So that is it for my top 10 moments of 2023. I had to leave a lot off this list, but there was so much to pick from. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Let me know what are some moments that you would like to see included on my list, if I should do an update to this or a part 2, because we had so much to talk about. I mean, if y'all could see the actual list of moments that I had, and I had to pick 10 and then order them, I need to get paid overtime for YouTube because it was a lot of work. But I hope you enjoyed this list, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share. But I also want to just remind people, if you're watching this in the month of December, and hopefully you're watching it live, you need to be watching it at the premiere time. I'm judging you. Even if I don't know who you are, I'm judging you. Let this face haunt your dreams. And watch the live premieres live. But if watching this in December, at the Fisher House Foundation fundraiser is ending December 31st at 12 a.m. or should I say 11:59 p.m. And it is ending on December 31st. It will not be continuing throughout January. It was only for December. So if you would like to donate, please feel free to do so. That is all I have for y'all. Thank y'all so much for an amazing year. This is not the last you'll see of me in 2023. I have a video tomorrow and I have one Sunday. We will be having a special live premiere on Sunday since it is New Year's Eve. I have something very special planned. And since it's the last day of the fundraiser, I thought it would be fun to get together and talk. And if anybody wanted to donate before year end, you have all the time to do so. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting the channel throughout 2023. And cheers to an amazing 2024. Bye.